At this point, can we say Vivek Ramaswamy is bragging? In this interview, he basically said he's not surprised by his rising polls. Very confident. Well, let's hear why he said it.
2024 Republican primary candidate Vivek Ramaswamy is trying to seize on some post-debate political momentum, rising to second place behind former President Trump in a new poll out of New Hampshire today. We'll break down those numbers in just a moment. But first, NBC's Natasha Burns traveled to Ramaswamy's Ohio campaign headquarters for an exclusive interview with the controversial candidate.
He's a political newcomer rising in the polls.
You have no foreign policy experience, and it shows.
And you know what?
It shows.
Ahead of politicians with longer, stronger resumes.
I'll be very frank about this. I am not surprised by our rise. The people in our Republican primary base, we're hungry for national unity, actually. I think it's a different philosophy of how to get there.
His style and his politics drawing comparisons to another one-time political newcomer.
President Trump, I believe, was the best president of the 21st century.
Pumping out content that, like Trump, is often baseless and creates controversy. Recently calling Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley a, quote, modern grand wizard of the modern KKK, saying the government lied about 9/11 and suggesting federal agents were involved in the January 6th attack on the Capitol.
Why do people always keep doing this? He did not particularly say the government lied about 9/11. When he was asked that, he said, I wish the government was more truthful about everything they tell us. Basically, my understanding would be he's not sure and he's not saying 9/11 was a lie, but he just knows the government doesn't tell people the complete truth. So he did not particularly say 9/11 was a lie, contrary to what the media has been, twisting it to mean.
You know when you say stuff like that, you're a smart guy.
I know it's going to be controversial.
You know
it's going to be controversial. So I think it is healthy for our country to have open, dialogue, radically honest and candid conversations.
You said at one point in one of your gaggles, and you're like, I just sometimes say things off the cuff.
I'm just honestly answering off the cuff.
How much do you literally mean what you say? Because sometimes it feels like you just kind of say things.
None of us can have it always, right? You can't be radically candid and then also filter what you say when. And if I'm giving a serious speech about shutting down the administrative state, as we did recently, we intend to follow that through. In other cases, I also believe in moments of levity that are honest, that open up candid dialogue. I'm not saying things I don't mean, but that doesn't mean that that's a bedrock part of my policy agenda to drive forward either.
Many of Ramaswamy's policy ideas are polarizing. He has proposed deporting the American-born children of undocumented immigrants along with their parents, children who are American citizens under the 14th Amendment.
So I want to give you my full perspective on this issue because I will acknowledge this is a difficult question. And what makes this a difficult question is that many people who are in this country illegally are still good people who came here for a better life for their family. And I think the only way we're going to be able to stand as a nation really committed to the rule of law is to behave in a manner that actually means it.
But is this a cold turkey rip? Is it people...
It has to be. But I think that, I think we will provide a path back through legal meritocratic immigration for those who have demonstrated themselves to be law-abiding, contributing citizens of this country.
But to be clear, you're talking about people who only speak English, who have lived in the United States their entire lives, are now going back to Guatemala, Venezuela, to countries that they know nothing about.
So you are picking the exception rather than the norm in the hard case. But to be frank,
no, but there are
the
thousands of
yes.
these people in the United States.
So I think the right answer is we have to stand for the rule of law.
Ramaswamy, whose parents are legal immigrants, himself gained citizenship by birthright.
Did your father also take the citizenship test, and is your father a citizen?
He did not, and that's a choice that he has made for familial reasons, but my mother did.
So your father is not a citizen of the United States?
He's not.
Okay. And your mother, when did your mom take the citizenship test? Was it before or after you were born?
After I was born.
His wife, Apurva, is also an immigrant and a throat surgeon at Ohio State University. The couple has 2 young boys. And not unlike some of his opponents, Apurva initially questioned her husband's readiness.
Is this the right time for our family? And then on a larger scale, are you the best version of yourself to be filling this, extremely important office. We didn't see anyone, and that's when we realized that at some point you have to step up and do it yourself.
But poll after poll shows former President Trump with a commanding lead in the Republican primary.
A ton of the voters at your events say they like you. They're voting for Trump.
I do think that I will be able to convince the America First base that I'm part of, that I'm best positioned to actually lead this nation forward.
NBC.
I kind of doubt that a little bit. Like, I do like Vivek Ramaswamy, but I just feel like he echoes Donald Trump's policies. Or he's like Trump 2.0. Like, I really do feel like that sometimes. I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't have a stand on his own. He definitely does. And he's capable of being president, according to, what I've seen and his resume. So I believe he's capable. But then, if I'm hearing a lot of Donald Trump in your message, I would rather vote the source. I don't know if that makes sense, So, I mean, I'm not voting in America. I'm not asking you to vote for anybody. I'm not going to be voting, but I'm just saying it makes sense why people would rather vote for Trump.
News correspondent Natasha Burns joins me now. Fascinating conversation. Dasha, congratulations on a really great interview. Take us behind the scenes of the Ramaswamy campaign, because I think you really hit the nail on the head there, which is he is surging in the polls, and yet former President Trump still has this commanding lead. What are they saying about that? And realistically, do they think he has a shot?
Well, it's interesting to look at those Trump comparisons, because you even see and feel that at their campaign headquarters. You remember back in 2015 and 2016, Trump was such a non-traditional candidate. He really shook the media landscape, and he found his own way to talk to voters directly and constantly through Twitter. Well, Vivek is doing his own version of that. You go to his campaign headquarters, which is a former barn, by the way, and where there used to be horse stables. Now there's a podcast studio, there's a TV production studio where he's producing a seemingly endless stream of content where he does spout some of those controversial comments that we talked about there. But that is his way of directly talking to those voters and really making his case. And that's how he's really starting to stand out. Unlike some of those other candidates that have maybe avoided the media in some ways, he's saying the more the merrier. Let's talk to everybody, and let's do it kind of constantly, Kristen.
It's really fascinating conversation, Dasha. I want to pivot a little bit, because I know you've also been covering the abortion fight in Ohio. The state Supreme Court there recently handed a partial victory to Republicans on ballot language this week. Break down what the key takeaways are there.
Yeah, and a bit of a blow to abortion rights advocates. The state Supreme Court said that the words unborn child can be used on the ballot in November. This is something that Ohioans for reproductive freedoms were arguing against. They wanted to use the word fetus, which they believe is the right language, because it is the language actually used in the full text of the amendment. But the Supreme Court said it's fine. The words unborn child will be on the amendment. Abortion rights advocates say this is potentially going to mislead voters. So a blow for those abortion rights advocates. But Kristen, political scientists that I talked to said that this may or may not have a huge impact, because this is an issue where people are pretty entrenched, and you saw that pretty overwhelming victory in that special election in August. It's a bit of a bellwether for what we might see in November. So not necessarily a huge setback, but certainly not what those abortion rights advocates were looking for here. And by the way, we did talk to Ramaswamy about his position on abortion. You can see the full interview and that exchange as well on NBCnews.com.
Yeah, obviously continues to be front and center in the GOP primary race, and we know that both sides will be pouring a lot of money into that ballot measure fight in Ohio. Natasha Burns, thank you for covering all the angles for us. Appreciate it. Great to see you.
Thanks for watching.
That was a good one. Vivek Ramaswamy is doing a very good job as far as reaching out to people and, getting his polls up there. Whether he's going to beat Trump, I mean, we could see it coming already. We knew he was going to beat DeSantis. But as far as beating Trump, I would say it's quite unlikely, but I'm open to the surprises, I'm never saying he's not capable. I would never say that. I know he is, but until we see it, we'll believe it. At this point is the end of this video. Let me know your thoughts. If there's anything you want to add, correct, or critique, as always, share in the comment section. That being said, have a wonderful day. Peace.